head with a shovel because it's slow. You just run around behind it. Yeah, and then just whack it.
I can't get over the fact that he was trying to flat end the boar with the shovel instead of stab it in its mouth with the shovel blade.
Yeah.
So that fight, okay, and then he's just like punching it in its head, this hard head. That fight reminded me of Jackson versus Chung Lee in Bloodsport.
Yes.
Like, he had the tools to win. He saw the boar up close, so it was no longer super fast. He was in close proximity, which means it lost all of its accuracy. These are rules that this boar seems to abide by, right? And so then he had the shovel. He could have waited for it to charge, brace the shovel, a la Troy, and spear that thing in the throat. He should have won. Instead, he went Jackson, and he turned stupid.
Yeah,
and then Bolo Young crushed him.
I'm not fist fighting a boar, John.
I guess I'm not fist fighting Nathan Jones either, but.
Ooh, that'd be bad. Maybe try to heel hook him.
He even says in the movie, it's like, I can crush skulls with this hand. After he shakes his hand, there's a grating. Okay, all right. There's one more question.
I have to say, though, that's kind of annoying, though, because a 7 foot, 300 tall, 300-pound man shouldn't be intimidating 5'9", spindly, 50-year-old men.
Well, we don't know what those first two marriages were, though, man. Maybe he was cheating on them.
Yeah, that's
true. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe Bernie knew something that we, the audience, didn't know about Bruce. That Bruce didn't even know that Bernie knew because Debbie told him.
Oh, okay.
Oh, he's nice. He's nice. Oh, yeah, he did this, that, and the other with his ex-wife, but he's nice. No, he's like, maybe he was an alcoholic who beat his wife. I don't know. Like, but now he's in AA and he's found Jesus.
But
we don't know the story.
He was with her for a long time, though, because remember she said we haven't seen him in forever? And then they see him and they're like, whoa, he's huge.
Yeah, I guess. For all I know, though, that was like.
What are the dynamics?
Yeah, it's but I say stuff like that about you, though. It's like, oh, shit. Like, if I haven't seen you for a year, I'm like, yeah, I haven't seen you in forever, man. I got to stop by.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot that we need. There is a rich backstory behind this family that we don't know.
I want the romantic comedy about how they met.
Or Bernie used to be a bank robber, and then he went to jail for 7 years, and he's just got a little extra aggression floating around.
He was one of the most wanted in Australia for a while.
All right. So Johnny Num from Twitter and the Last Knock podcast asks, how would Babe, the pig from the children's movie, how would Babe fare if it crossed paths with the boar? Would he charm him or her, I haven't seen it, with his disarming sincerity, or would things take a much darker turn?
This boar would destroy Babe. Babe's a little sweetheart, but so this boar is not. Okay, so if they exist in the same world, pigs know better. Like, pigs are smart in this world. Animals are smart. So there is a boar running around murdering other boars and humans. So this is not
murdering boars that probably. By the way, those boars that it was murdering
would murder us.
Even if they were piglets, they were going to turn into 300-pound boars.
Yep. And so this boar is not. It's turned. It's gone full. What? Hayden Christensen, Revenge of the Sith, killing the kids. It's gone full.
It does not have the high ground, though.
Yeah. I think Babe would just be like, I think there's good in everyone, and the pig would just swallow him whole.
And so, and Babe is just on a slight decline, and the boar's like, "It's over, Babe. I have the high ground."
Yeah. But what does that matter?
Oh, and then it stomps on Babe's back like it did as a bully to Nathan Jones and applied weight.
Yeah. He would eat Babe. But
I mean, what's this movie rated? There's a question. Did the boar wander into Babe's movie, or did Babe wander into the boar's movie?
Well, if this is a G or PG movie, the boar is going to die horribly. Because in Disney movies, or the children's films, if you think about Tarzan, the guy's hung and his neck snaps. Frollo from Hunchback of Notre Dame falls into a fiery pit to represent hell. Scar is murdered by hyenas.
After he murders his brother.
Exactly. So the boar is going to die in the PG-G. And the R-rated, the boar's just going to eat Babe.
It's going to splat Babe.
Yeah.
It's going to stomp on Babe and splat him.
Those movies, they kind of they're like spoof movies. Babe would be out singing and he would just get smushed. And there'd just be a pile of entrails and blood.
I'm in. We're going to have suckling pig next to our giant tomahawk from the boar.
Just smushed. Oh man, I love it. Any other questions?
No, that's all of our listener questions. So, this movie.
Yeah. Anything else you want to share?
Well, you told me something interesting about this movie that I don't think was mentioned during our episode yet, and that was that Chris Sun, the director, kept getting interviewed, or in an interview he identified that he was maybe a little bothered that everyone, including me, by the way, from the time I saw the trailer, I'm just like, oh my God, they remade Razorback. Now I need to go see Razorback. Even though no one ever called it that in the article, they just said, here's the new trailer for Boar. Here's Boar. I just felt like I knew in my head this was a remake of Razorback, and he doesn't like that.
Yeah, so apparently. I have some quotes from him. He's just, Razorback's not the only Killer Pig movie ever made, but being Aussie, people want to compare the two, which is fair. Boar is completely different in every way than Razorback. Razorback is one of my favorite movies of all time. However, Boar is not even remotely the same. It has a completely different storyline and more kills. What people need to remember is I am not trying to compete with Razorback. To be honest, I wouldn't dare. Shark or Croc films are too expensive to make, so I just made this. And then he put, you can't make this is the third interview, you can't make a giant pig movie in Australia without people talking about one of the greats, Razorback. Now that's a great monster movie. And I guess in a small way there was a little RB influence, but to be honest, my inspiration from Boar came from American Werewolf in London and Jaws. However, I do have an awesome cameo from Chris Haywood, Razorback, in Boar, where he sits at the bar and talks about a giant pig terrorizing the outback. So he wanted to, in other interviews, he wanted to copy Jaws with the, we see the what is it, first person from the boar. We get to see the boar, the Boro vision. And then he wanted to have a lot of humor, like an American Werewolf in London, incorporated into this film. So he wanted to make more of that than a Razorback. But it's just funny, though, because every interview he's just like, oh yeah, Razorback, I get it. But every interview he's like, it's not the same. I just thought it was pretty funny hearing all this stuff from him.
Poor guy. I mean, again, now that I've seen the movie, like if I was to say a one sentence premise, the premise is identical if you were to word it appropriately, right? If you were to like a monstrously, inordinately large boar kills people in a remote town in Australia. But that's being super basic. You could turn almost every slasher movie into one premise, right? If I did that. Now, having seen it, there's nothing similar at all. And the plots of both, this one really investigates these families in this community. Razorback was investigating a reporter traveling around the world to find a guy traveling around the world to find his disappeared reporter girlfriend, right? Who died in the outback, and then stumbling across they're very, very different movies, and neither of them take a basic approach to what they're doing, which is interesting as well.
I think that's what makes them both enjoyable. And I sent you a message that you said you had a good laugh to. I sent you a message after watching Razorback. It's a real movie.
Right. No, it's funny too. Like I said earlier, I only watched Razorback and those other Killer Pig movies because this came out, and I always knew Razorback existed, and it was in my infinite queue of things that I really need to watch one day, but that I never get around to. And I felt the same thing. Like when I was watching it, and I usually write a review as I'm watching a movie, the opening credits for Razorback come on, and I'm like, these are some gorgeous shots of the outback.
Yeah.
So I was very shocked at first too, because when someone calls something a cult classic, you usually assume not necessarily some B movie, lower qualityness to it, but you're not assuming you're going to see like a real film, sort of, sometimes.
This probably falls under, it was really good, but underwatched, and now it's built an audience.
Sure. I mean, I'm sure that it was super popular right when it came out in Australia, right?
Yeah.
But
there's so many there's so many dolly shots in this movie and good performances. It's a movie. I liked it.
It's a movie, and again, it's like, well, that movie though, right away it lets you know it's a real movie, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Boar, again, the first 20 minutes, I was very apprehensive. Like I was excited for 2 years to see this. I'm like, oh no, what's happening? And that might have been what you mentioned about how there would have been, budget-wise, there should have been a couple more kills. Maybe those couple more kills would have been the kills that literally happened off screen in the beginning of the movie. The razor wire tangled guy, the people who got knocked over in the car in the very first scene, like maybe would have seen them, and they just weren't done now.
I guess from a production standpoint, I mean, you probably know about this, but this is a super indie Boar, and he only had so much money, and he quickly learned one day with the Boar turned into 3. Right. So he probably had to scrap a lot of things because you can't just add days. He said anytime the Boar was on set, we had to go into overtime. You know, you have grips, electrics, everyone making more money. You also had Teamsters making more money. So whatever the union is out there. So, and then to add more days would just be an extra expense, and which he didn't have. So, yeah, I think some parts of the movie had to suffer, but it's nice to know that his ambition is what kind of also hurt him. This movie wasn't hurt because it was crap. This movie was hurt because of ambition. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And the budget was only like just shy of, I think, 1.5 million Australian dollars, which, depending on the year, by and large, it's often comparable to the U.S. or a little weaker than the U.S. dollar. So it's not a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, Insidious shot in like 20 days on $1 million budget. So
was Insidious $1 million?
Yeah. So this movie, it probably had a 20-day shooting schedule. But he also flew people in from the United States to be in this film. So I guarantee he also probably had to split up, Bill Moseley and the other. He probably had to kill them off because they were the Americans and they were probably more expensive to hotel and put up. Does that make sense? So
sure, yeah. But you know what? Killing Bill Moseley's character when and how they did was like a Game of Thrones level shock.
Oh, I loved it.
Or like early Walking Dead. Like, he's not going to die now. Holy shit, he just died! Like, and horribly.
So I think the budget is kind of ruled everything. But this guy made it's fun. This is a movie you could put on in the background and totally enjoy anytime.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it twice in a couple days, and I got to tell you, especially since I was apprehensive in the first 20, 30 minutes when I first saw it. Well, now that I knew what it was, when I saw it again, and now I know how much I like how the Boar looks, so I'm just waiting for it. I actually liked watching it the second time more than the first time.
I think I did too on my rewatch. You just know where it's at, you know the beats. And also reading a lot of the interviews helped me understand, because I like to do that. I like to understand it. So reading the interviews makes me really appreciate it a lot more as well, just kind of knowing what went into it.
Yeah, I will absolutely be buying this. I'm a very physical media oriented person, but even if this was permanently streaming on Netflix, for example, which I'll always have, even if it was permanently streaming, I'm going to buy the Blu-ray of this. Not just to support the movie, but because I like to have the movie. So I can't wait. I really, really hope this is successful, or has been successful, because it was released over a year ago in Australia. I want to see Boar 2, or more importantly, I want to see this guy. I want to see Chris Sun do a third movie in the genre with Nathan Jones.
He's doing a ghost movie he wants to do next.
Is Nathan Jones the ghost? Because he's going to be a weird looking ghost.
Oh, that'd be amazing. Like in the Frightener style ghost. But yeah, he wants to do a ghost movie next.
I'm down, man. I mean, I like Charlie's Farm for what it was. That was more deliberately campy, whereas this really wasn't campy. Yeah, I don't think. Maybe momentarily, almost cheekily.
It's more It's more Tremors vibe.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. And so I'd really like to see him make it, do a third movie, whether or not he kept the same tone or not. But I'd be curious to see. Now that I've seen him do Charlie's Farm and this, I'd be curious to see what if he goes just with like some dire, insidious-ish vibe. And Nathan Jones is a bespectacled nerd paranormal researcher.
It's like Tucker Specs. Well, Lee Wannell's from Australia. Bring him in. Bring in Lynn Shay, just because she's awesome. No, wait, Jackie Weaver. She's from Australia. So bring in Jackie Weaver and just have them remake Insidious with those three.
I mean, I'm all in. Whatever, and I own Charlie's Farm too. So whatever Chris' son does next, I'm interested in. I did not see that movie you mentioned before. It was something like, I can't remember the name. Don't let the girl something or other. Don't let him get me.
Yeah. Or wait, let me look up Chris. Let me pull up my notes here. He was.
This is either his third or fourth film.
Daddy's Little Girl.